All right, when you come in and you're going to turn on the oxygen system, it's going to be very important for you to make sure that each one of these knobs is turned completely to the right. If you look closely here, you can see that it gives you an arrow for how to close the valve and an arrow for how to open the valve. So to the right, turning it to the right is going to close it, turning it to the left is going to open it. You want to make sure that everything is turned to the right when you come in here. Make sure all these are in the off position. These, you can see, are not hooked up, so we know that these cylinders are not on. However, this cylinder is hooked up, so it's possible that it's on, so we want to make sure that the cylinder is off again too. Another thing you can do is look at the gauges. Right now, both of those pressure gauges are reading 0. I know that the numbers may not pick up too well on my camera, but both of those gauges there are reading 0, so that lets us know that the cylinder's off. We also want to make sure that the main cylinder bank valve is shut off as well. The reason for coming in here and turning all these to the right is these are not attached. There's 2,200, if this cylinder is full, there's 2,200 pounds of pressure on the inside of this cylinder. So if I don't go through and make sure that these things are off, when I turn this cylinder valve on and I turn this hand rotary valve on, what that's going to allow happen is it's going to fill this manifold bar with the same amount of pressure that's inside of the cylinder. So if I have this rotary valve on and that pressure is full here, and this is not attached to an oxygen cylinder, what will happen is that a massive amount of pressure will cause oxygen to come out of this opening within this thing, and that high amount of pressure is going to cause this thing to begin to whip back and forth pretty violently, and if you're standing close, it could smack you in the face, so you want to make sure that you don't do that. First thing you do is you come in and you make sure everything is off. When you're turning the oxygen on, you're going to start, after you've made sure everything is off, in the off position, you're going to turn the cylinder on first. So what we'll do is we'll turn the cylinder on, we'll go all the way to the left, and once we reach our stopping point, we'll turn it back a quarter of a turn to the right. Doing that's going to allow to know that it turns freely both ways, so this one's on when you grab a hold of it, but it'll also help keep this valve from freezing up and making it difficult to turn left or right either way. So now we're going to go from the cylinder to the hand rotary valve, so follow the attached pigtail all the way back up to the valve that it controls. This is going to be this one, so we'll turn this one on, and again you're going to go all the way to the left till you can't turn it anymore, and then back a quarter turn to the right for the same reason we did with this one. Now what you're going to notice is, so now from this point we've got, when we turned this on, gas was trapped in the pigtail connection with the American Standard Safety System adapter. Once we turn, so gas is trapped from point A to point B. Now we've turned this cylinder open, so now gas is essentially trapped from here to here, to this valve here. So from this point to this point. If this valve were open, this gas would now come out of this pigtail down here, but we're not going to do that because I don't want to get smacked in the face or break my camera. So now we've turned this on, back a quarter turn to the right. The next valve you got to do is the main cylinder bank valve. So this valve here is now going to allow gas to be distributed out through the pressure reducing valve, reduced down from the high pressure of 2200 psi or whatever pressure is inside of this cylinder, be reduced down to 50 psi, and then up through that pipe and out to the rest of the labs, 300, 303, and 307. So we'll turn this on. I'll stop the video and we'll turn and then the next video I'll show you how to turn the system off. So we're going to turn this valve to the left. You'll hear a good bit of noise. You'll notice that these pressure gauges are now indicating that there's something inside the cylinder. So this one's looking like there's somewhere in the ballpark. If you look at that, you'll see that it's calibrated that's in the red there on the bottom gauge is 500 psi. 1,000 psi, 1,500, and 2,000. So each one of the little lines in between that is going to be a 100 psi increment. So right now it's directly between the first and second after 500. So that's lets me know that there's 650 psi inside of the cylinder. The bottom gauge here is going to read the pressure inside the cylinder, so that shows us our cylinder pressure. The top gauge is our pressure that's been reduced down. It is set at 50 psi. It's right between 40 and 60, so it is reading 50 psi right now. This is going to be considered your line pressure gauge. So this is the line pressure gauge because it reads the amount of pressure inside of the line. This is the cylinder pressure gauge because it reads the amount of pressure inside of the cylinder. So we'll stop the video here. I'll get started back here shortly.